She Who Awakens by Alina Chamberlain. Chapter: Why the Feminine Light Fades. The mechanics of extinction. Sexual energy is not a constant, unchanging state. It is a living, breathing process that requires specific, sanctuary-like conditions to thrive. In our modern landscape, a woman frequently encounters factors that act as kill switches for her inner radiance. Understanding these mechanisms is the first essential step toward reclaiming your birthright, a life lived in pleasure. Chronic stress, the biological hierarchy of survival. Chronic stress is the primary assassin of femininity. Our bodies operate on a strict evolutionary hierarchy, where the survival program always takes precedence over the thrive program. When you exist in a state of constant mobilization, whether due to deadlines, financial anxiety, or interpersonal conflict, your brain signals the adrenal glands to flood your system with cortisol and adrenaline. From an evolutionary perspective, if a tiger is chasing you, you do not need to be aroused, you need to run. During this state, a phenomenon known as Pregnenolone Steal occurs. Pregnenolone is the mother hormone, the raw material from which our bodies create beauty and desire. In a state of peace, it is used to synthesize estrogen and progesterone, maintaining your libido and vitality. However, under stress, the body hijacks all raw materials to produce cortisol. Your body literally robs your sexuality to ensure your survival. The result is the hibernation of the ovaries, tissue dryness, and emotional burnout. Sexual energy is the energy of expansion, stress is always the energy of contraction and cold. The conflict between the director and the lover. The modern woman is conditioned to be efficient, logical, and analytical. However, sexual energy has no access to the halls of the intellect. It lives exclusively below the neck. Many women suffer from the life in the head, where the body is perceived merely as a vehicle to transport the intellect. Your neocortex is a magnificent director, but your sexuality is governed by the ancient limbic brain, which speaks only the language of sensation, warmth, moisture, and texture. The moment you begin to analyze your appearance or mentally rehearse your to-do list during intimacy, your attention, which acts as an internal laser, leaves the pelvic cradle. Without your presence, blood does not flow to the organs, and the body remains cold. Analysis is the primary executioner of orgasm. Sexual energy demands total presence, not external observation. To ignite this power, the intellect must surrender to instinct, and control must yield to spontaneity. A vital vitamin turned luxury. For many, pleasure sits at the very bottom of the daily to-do list. Yet physiologically, pleasure is not a luxury or an act of selfishness. It is a vital vitamin. When you suppress your desires, the neural pathways that transmit signals of joy literally overgrow from disuse. The brain actually unlearns how to recognize arousal. Biochemically, pleasure reduces systemic inflammation through the release of endorphins and improves lymphatic drainage through deep relaxation. A woman who allows herself to be truly ravished by the taste of a fruit or the warmth of sunlight is training her capacity for orgasm in the bedroom. To suppress joy is to build an invisible dam, turning the blooming garden of your endocrine system into a parched desert. Oxytocin, the natural antagonist to cortisol, is only produced in the space where the right to "I want" has been legalized. Trauma and the mechanism of freezing. In the feminine context, trauma is not always a singular catastrophe. It is any experience where the body feels unprotected, a medical procedure performed without true consent, a partner's coldness, or intimacy engaged in through duty rather than desire. In response to perceived danger, the body often chooses the freeze response. It numbs its own sensitivity, so as not to feel the pain. This frost can persist for years, turning the pelvis into a silent, forgotten zone. Trauma lives in the cellular memory and the fascia. Shame is a form of social trauma that acts as a frigid energy, causing a woman to slouch and retract her attractiveness to become invisible. The path to thawing lies through micro-movements and the restoration of the right to say no. Your body will only begin to trust you again when it is certain that you will stop the very second you feel discomfort. The tremors or tears that may arise during healing practices are simply the exit of trapped adrenaline, clearing the path for new life. Invisible chains, social and cultural prohibitions. We are born into a world where feminine sexuality has been a target of control for centuries. The culture of shame, whispering that good girls don't, trains us to direct our energy towards self-censorship rather than life. The insidious idea that sexuality is a currency to serve a partner or a marital duty instantly puts the libido to sleep. Wherever the word should appears, sexual energy vanishes. The modern obsession with perfection forces women to monitor their flaws during intimacy, rather than inhabiting their ecstasy. Breaking these chains is an act of sovereign rebellion. Sexual energy flourishes only where the fear of judgment dies. When you shed the weight of correctness and legalize your primal, elemental nature, you release a colossal reservoir of resources for your health, your creativity, and your ultimate success. Discover the secrets to nurturing your lifestyle and love style at Wish for Love. The electronic version of all chapters from the full book She Who Awakens by Alina Chamberlain can be found at wishforlove.org.